Her resume was thrown in the trash simply because of the color of her skin, but Amara didn't give up. Soon, she became the CEO, and the person who tried to destroy her lost everything. You won't believe what happened next. But let's start from the very beginning. Amara James sat in her small office, absorbed in her computer screens, when she once again opened the emails about unsuccessful interviews. As always, she tried to find something positive, but the world wasn't always kind to those who didn't look right according to society's standards. Amara realized that her success depended on tremendous willpower and several unbearable weeks of waiting. But nothing stopped her. She knew she had to keep moving forward despite the invisible walls this world erected around her. Almost without enthusiasm, she sent her resume for the position of CEO at Nexstar Global, one of the most prestigious companies in the country. This time, something felt different. She sensed the chance of success was small, but she couldn't walk away. Recognition of her talent had to come, sooner or later. Meanwhile, at Nexstar Global, John Hawkins, a white middle manager, began processing the new resumes. He quickly flipped through the papers, grumbling in dissatisfaction. His gaze landed on Amara's resume. He didn't notice her achievements or higher education, just her name, her photo, and the fact that she was black. Not our type. His thought pierced through, and he threw her resume in the trash. What he didn't know was that the decision he had just made could destroy his career and change the entire fate of the company. Amara was never one to give up, and this was her time. But she couldn't have known that her journey with the company was just beginning. 2 weeks later, to her surprise, Amara received a call. She could hardly believe her ears when she was told she was invited for an interview. When she arrived at Nexstar's office, her eyes lit up and her heart raced. She was ready to fight for her dream. But what awaited her was something more than just a meeting with an employer. John was in the meeting when she entered. He looked at Amara, and his face turned stone cold. She appeared to him as just another ambitious woman, trying to take his place in the office, but he didn't understand who was standing before him. Amara sensed the tension in the air, but remained calm. She was ready to prove that her place was here. During the interview, she didn't hide her confidence, discussing her achievements and ideas that could take the company to the next level. John, gritting his teeth, noted her professionalism, but his expression betrayed his disbelief in her success. After the interview, he sneered. Her place is not here. What he didn't know was that her place in the company was already destined. A few weeks passed, and Amara had almost forgotten about her interview at Nexstar Global. Life went on. New projects, new offers, but the inner feeling that one day her efforts would lead to change never left her. She knew there would come a moment when she would stand in her rightful place. Then, one day, her phone vibrated. She picked it up and heard a familiar name. This wasn't just an HR manager. It was someone from the company's top leadership. Amara, welcome to the team. We're happy to inform you that you've been selected for the CEO position. Amara couldn't believe her ears. Her first reaction was doubt. How was this possible? This position had been a dream she hadn't even dared to hope for. How could she have been chosen when her resume had ended up in the trash? As it turned out, the company had gone through significant changes after the departure of the previous leader, and investors insisted on selecting someone who could truly transform the company's culture. She was invited to meet with the senior leadership. Amara walked into the office with a mix of excitement and determination. As she passed through the hallways, she noticed employees whispering. She was ready for any outcome. Then she met John Hawkins, who already knew Amara was the new CEO, but couldn't believe it. He was in shock. He tried to maintain professionalism, but it was clear he was upset and displeased with the decision, which he thought was a mistake. He was sure this appointment was temporary and that things would return to normal soon. Are you sure about your decision? Our clients are used to stability, he said, holding back a contemptuous smile. Amara looked at him and confidently responded, Stability is not the same as stagnation. I'm ready to lead the company into a new era. Her words left an impact. John felt his authority slipping away with each passing hour, but he couldn't back down. He was determined to show Amara her place. Soon, her work began. The new leadership team arrived, and the atmosphere in the office shifted. Every day, Amara introduced her plan for change. New ideas, new rules aimed at improving morale and work efficiency. But John didn't stop trying to undermine her decisions. At one of the first meetings, he publicly suggested his own version of the company's strategy. He didn't think to consider Amara's opinion. It was his attempt to overshadow her leadership. He believed his years of experience and traditional approaches should take priority. Amara listened to him but responded briefly and decisively. "These approaches don't work. We are changing, and you need to accept that." This was their first public confrontation, but it wouldn't be the last. John continued to try to manipulate the situation, growing more confident in his belief that his old connections and influence over colleagues could still play a role. But Amara didn't give up. She knew that every decision she made had to be not only justified, but also swift. Soon, her team started to support her, and she felt real change beginning to take place. But John was gradually retreating into the shadows, losing influence. It became clear that a showdown between them was inevitable. Months passed since Amara took over as CEO. Every day brought new challenges, which she faced with confidence, though she still felt the pressure, especially from John. He still couldn't accept her leadership. His attempts to sabotage her decisions were becoming more obvious. At another meeting, where they were discussing strategies to enter a new market, John once again tried to defend his position. He disagreed with Amara's ambitious plans, claiming they were too risky. But Amara, unshaken, replied that this was the only way for the company to reach the next level. "You talk about safety, but you forget that safety doesn't bring growth. We must move forward." Her words echoed in the room. But John was stubborn. He began to sabotage her proposals, delaying approvals and suggesting old, outdated approaches that he believed provided stability. In his eyes, her leadership was still temporary. With every move he made, her position grew stronger. Amara began seeking support among employees. She met with key figures within the company, sharing her plans and strategy, and introducing programs to increase employee engagement. Soon, she won the trust of the majority. But John didn't give up. He gathered supporters within the office, spreading rumors about her inexperience. He even tried to organize a secret meeting with investors to review her appointment. But at that very moment, things started to unravel for him. One employee, who had worked closely with John for years, decided to act differently. He told Amara about a meeting where John discussed her incompetence and tried to convince leadership she couldn't handle the pressure. Amara knew this was her chance to act. She didn't just complain but prepared a strategic response. At an important meeting, where John had tried to discredit one of her projects, Amara confidently presented to the investors and colleagues. She showed the results her approach had brought over the last few months, including increased productivity and an improved workplace atmosphere. "Yes, I came here with a new vision and strategy, but don't be fooled. I'm confident this is the way the company will thrive. I'm not just a leader. I am part of this team." The meeting ended with an unexpected resolution. Investors, seeing the real progress and Amara's confidence, supported her. John, however, was left with his doubts and manipulations. This became a turning point for the company. But John, still unwilling to accept her authority, began acting openly more aggressively. He resisted her decisions at every turn, undermining her efforts in meetings and trying to block her new ideas. Amara realized the conflict had reached a new level. She could no longer ignore it. John continued to sabotage every decision Amara made, but his attempts became more crude and obvious. He ignored her instructions, spread rumors, and looked for ways to slow down her initiatives. Amara knew that if she didn't stop him now, he would continue to destroy the company. She began gathering evidence, recordings of conversations, documents proving his manipulations. At the next meeting, when John once again tried to sabotage her project, Amara laid everything out on the table. In front of the investors and leadership, she showed his attempts at sabotage, backed up by evidence. "This man tried to destroy our work for his own gain," Amara said, presenting the recordings and correspondence. The meeting fell silent. John tried to defend himself, But his words held no weight. Investors, realizing his actions, immediately terminated his contract. John was fired on the spot. For Amara, this wasn't just an exposure, it was a victory. She had faced down adversity and proven her worth. And when the dust settled, Nexstar Global entered a new era with Amara at the helm. The final words. Amara's journey was full of obstacles, but through resilience, confidence, and determination, she didn't just prove that she belonged in the CEO position. She reshaped the company and the entire industry. And as for John Hawkins, he lost everything. His ambition had blinded him, and his attempts to undermine Amara cost him his career. Sometimes, the fight is not just for a position, but for the recognition we deserve, the end.